Hi, everybody. It's Jessica Stone at Stansberry Research, and I'm joined on the line by Kim Iskyan, our international editor. And Kim has written something called Who Wins the Post-Pandemic World? Kim, why even ask the question?
Well, I think that we really do need to kind of look forward, Jessica. And on the one hand, it's kind of a strange question to ask because nobody wins when a pandemic sweeps through the world, kills hundreds of thousands of people, infects millions more, and results in a Great Depression. But no matter what, there are relative winners and losers, countries that come out the other side a little bit stronger than others, or as the case is, a little bit less weak. And we're always looking at who is geopolitically, economically, macroeconomically, strategically ahead and who positions themselves best for what comes next.
Yeah, and obviously we have a tug of war between the US and China and trying to counter the narrative that each other is putting out with respect to who's coming out on top. So in your mind, who's winning?
Well, I think in a funny sort of way, the country that has probably mismanaged the coronavirus and the fallout worse than anyone else is the United States, but yet they will probably come out ahead. Because what we're seeing in the United States is that despite everything, they have probably done less badly than many other countries. And with respect to China in particular, the United States has taken a lot of body blows to its reputation and certainly to its standing in the world. But it is still going to come out ahead. And that's partly because it was so far ahead in the first place. And I'm talking about really geostrategic positioning in the world and where it is vis-a-vis China. The United States still has the world's largest military, the largest economy. And despite the efforts of the White House to deter people from going to the United States, it is still a magnet of innovation. It's a magnet of the smartest people in the world. And that, when we come out the other end of the pandemic, that won't have changed.
Are you surprised that you've come to this conclusion? Because you do have a lot of critical thoughts about the management of the US economy and, more importantly, the administration and some of the political decisions that have been made with respect to the rest of the world. So are you surprised that you have come to this conclusion?
You know, I think, well, yes, but I think that when you look at the standing of the United States, it's easy to forget. First, it has so much credibility built upon decades of the post-World War II era. And for a long time, we were living in a bipolar world. And then after the end of the Cold War, we shifted to what was really a unipolar world, where the United States was the grown-up in the room. They were at the head of the table. They were everybody wanted to be their friend, and they could be the bully when they wanted to be. And over the past, arguably, decade, and certainly what's accelerated over the past 3 years, has been the United States very intentionally pushing away from that table and saying, you know what, we don't want any part of this globalization garbage. NATO is a load of crap, and all the efforts of the Trump White House really pull the United States away from what a lot of people view as entrapments and responsibilities that carry no sort of benefit.
You know, one of the things I found most interesting about your argument is that you take the position that the dollar is and will continue to be the strongest currency. There's obviously been a conversation over the last few years about whether the yuan, the Chinese currency, would get stronger in terms of global usage. The Chinese have certainly tried to encourage that. Some think the euro could take that place, and there's a conversation around what the global basket of currencies that's even used at the IMF and the World Bank could be. But we do know that during this crisis, the Fed has sort of seized on the moment to make sure that there's more dollars in circulation as opposed to less at other central banks. Is that part of your reasoning that we're actually going to be further towards a strong dollar after the pandemic than we are right now?
Well, I think that one of the things that we've seen is that when everything goes haywire, people want stability. And what we have seen is in this pandemic, really investors and economies and central banks wanting to be in the dollar more than anything else. And a lot of critics say, well, but look at the balance sheet of the Fed. It's all going to hell in a handbasket. But the euro really isn't a viable option, and the yuan certainly not either. And when you look at the percentage of international transactions that happen, the share of the dollar has been steadily increasing over time. When you look at the share of the US dollar in the reserves of other countries, it's been rising over time. It's not that the United States has done so incredibly well or the dollar is such a fantastic, solid asset, but relative to what else is out there, it is.
Thanks so much for joining us, Kim Iskyan, our international editor, joining us from Singapore. We thank you for your time. And if you would like to see much more content like this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. That's all for now. Thanks for joining us.